Eminences, Holy Fathers, Reverend Fathers, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee of this conference for the honor of inviting me here today as a speaker to this very important conference. To Mrs. Lambropoulou Maria, who is Professor of Histology and Embryology of the Democritus University of Thrace, and her team, because they allowed me to use images from their books. But to all scientists through the internet, allow us to participate and learn from their knowledge. So, I would like to share some basic knowledge in order to understand the topic. I'm talking about the sex and the identity of persons according to the medicine. So I'm going to talk about the sex determination and the natural identity of persons, because later on I will show that the identity of the person is how it is determined. However, the human genome consists of the genes, of all the genes, and it is all the genetic material of an organism. It is encoded as DNA in 46 chromosomes, characteristic for humankind, and they are grouped in 23 pairs of chromosomes in the nucleus of the cells. The 22 first pairs are called autosome and are named with the numbers from 1 to 22, and the 23rd chromosome is called the sex chromosome and determines the sex of the person. Females have two X's, XX, and males have an X and a Y. Half of the chromosomes come from our father and half come from our mother. Here you can see a real genotype with the 22 first autosomes, autologous pairs, and the 23rd pair is the sex chromosome, which consists from the X and the Y. Here you can see which is the X and which is the Y chromosome, the sex chromosomes, and in spermatogenesis, the sperms are generated with mitotic division in the testes. So, each sperm has got 23 chromosomes. The 22 are the autosome chromosomes, and the one is the sex chromosome, either X or Y. So, half of the sperms have X for female, and the other half have Y for the males. So, the meiosis of the chromosomes is completed during the fertilization, and the sex chromosome for ovums, for the X, is always X. Here you can see again the previous image, the scheme of the 23rd chromosome, the sex chromosome. Here you can see a sperm. Here you can see the ovum, the egg, and the sperms, and their size in comparison. So fertilization is done always by one single sperm, always. As soon as this sperm enters the egg, all the others are excluded. And fertilization is done either by a single Y sperm, so the sex will be male, or with a single X sperm and the sex of the person will be female. Here we can understand that the sex of the person is determined immediately after fertilization. The fetus receives its first sex identity, either male or female. Another conclusion is that for the determination of the sex, always the man is responsible because the sperm is the one that determines the sex. For thousands of years, we have been accusing women that it is their fault that they have born female children, girls. So, after the fertilization in the fallopian tube, the fertilized egg is going towards the uterus. So it keeps multiplicating, and when they reach the uterus, it has been transformed into a blastocyst. This blastocyst has got a mass of cells. You can see here with purple that they are called embryoblast, from which the fetus will come. So you can see also here the trophoblast, from which will come all the necessary things that will keep the fetus alive during the gestation. The 5th day, the blastocyst is implanted in the endometrium, and in the 9th day, it is completed. Then, in the 9th day, it is implanted with the embryoblast, and it forms the syncytial trophoblast that will form the placenta. And this part, the bluish part, is the embryoblast that will turn into the fetus. So, with the beginning of the first week of gestation, we have the 3 so-called germ layers, the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm of the fetus. Those structures are very basic because they are the tanks for the cells that form all the organs and the systems for a complete organism, for a complete human being. We are going to describe the sex organs, the genitalia of the male and female fetus that have relation with the urinary system. In the 4th week, this green organ is formed, this yellow organ, which is an organ that mesonephros, that it operates, it functions until the 3rd month. So you can see that this red organ is the mesonephric Wolffian duct, and the blue is the paramesonephric Mullerian duct. In the 5th week, in the internal part of the Wolffian duct, we have the gonad, the initial gonad of the fetus, which is not differentiated. They are neither testes nor ovaries, which is waiting for the differentiation. In the 5th week, we have the first cells of the genitalia, which they come and sit in the initial gonad. Moreover, in the 5th week again of gestation, from the Y chromosome, one gene, the SRY, is activated, and that allows for the differentiated gonad into testes and ovaries. Moreover, it leads to the creation of 2 types of cells that are very important: Sertoli and Leydig cells. The Leydig cells are the ones that produce the testosterone, that go to the receptors of the Wolffian duct and give the male genitalia that allow the sperm of the man to come down. So the Sertoli cells form the anti-malaria hormone, and that goes to the paramesonephric Mullerian duct, the blue duct, meaning that the testes who, under the effect of all those factors, is either differentiated, and this is how we have the inner genitalia of the male fetus. Now, when it comes to the female fetus, the lack of the androgens leads to the differentiation of the initial gonad to ovary. The lack of androgens also leads to losing the Wolffian duct, the degradation of the Wolffian duct, degeneration of the Wolffian duct, and the lack of the androgen allows for the differentiation of the Mullerian duct that become the fallopian tubes, the uterus, and the vagina. Therefore, we have this is how the internal genitalia of male and female form between the 9th and the 10th week of the gestation. So the fetus gets their second sex identity, either male or female. So during the 9th and the 10th week, we cannot understand if the genitalia are male or female yet. You can see that they appear similar. The urogenital folds and the labiogenital tubercles. All those are formed due to the hormones. And this is how the external genitalia come to form. If there is lack, or rather, if the receptors of the androgens do not work properly, then we have various situations. And this is how the fetus becomes the third identity, since the external genitalia now can be separated to male and female. Here you can see some types of hypospadia. And if there is a lack of an enzyme, and the people cannot form cortisol, that we have genitalia that appear to be male, but they are female. However, those are disorders and not sexes. So during the gestation, the cells become really millions, but their course is so exact in their differentiation that at the end of gestation, we have a perfect human being, the most perfect creature of the creation, since it begins from a cell and ends up being that child is born, and this is the new human and the participation of man in the creation. So our conclusion agrees with the American College of Pediatrics from 2021, and I quote, "The human sex is a dimorphic, inherent and unchangeable characteristic that is determined during the fertilization, and it is defined in relation to the biological role of organization to the reproduction. The organisms that give genetic material are males, and the one who receive are female. The biological sex does not change. There is no medical intervention that can transfer a person from one sex to the other, since the responsible chromosomes are the X and Y. This genetic signature exists in every cell of the in every nucleus of the cells and cannot be changed with medicine or interventions. The disorders of sex development are disorders that are not more sexes. The identity that has been defined 3 times in the gestation, first of all with the fertilization, second with the differentiation of the gonads in tests or ovaries, and third with the differentiation of the outer and the inner and the outer genitalia. Human beings are either male or female as have been created by God. No one can change their sex since it is genetically determined, and each fetus comes to life, each child is born with its natural identity imprinted in every cell of their body. Thank you very much for your patience.